This is Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, population 1,054, where the regular street traffic of today was 36 years ago replaced by racing sports cars that came roaring around that corner and down this main street as part of a 5.3-mile circuit. In those days, Elkhart Lake was the center of modern road racing, like Watkins Glen and Bridgehampton, Long Island, and it led into the modern era of the sport. Hi, I'm Brock Yates, and today we're going to be at Road America, just a few miles down the road, where the cars are substantially faster than those old Jaguar XK120s and Ferraris and Cadillac Allards that competed on this street. 200-mile-an-hour IMSA GT prototypes in a 500-mile contest with some of the leading drivers in the world. For more on what's going on up the road at Road America, let's go to my partner, Steve Evans.
Brock, as usual, IMSA has brought us a magnificent mix of GTP automobiles and a group of highly talented drivers. On the pole, on its first anniversary, the GTP Corvette. It will be started today by Cyril van der Merwe. Doc Bundy will be sharing this ride. And, you know, in this race, with 4 classes in one event, a driver could do more passing than he might in thousands of miles of single-class racing. I asked Doc Bundy about that traffic problem.
It's scary. It really is scary. In this race, it's going to be survival. That's all it is, survival.
Sharing the front row with the Corvette GTP car is the beautiful number 83 Nissan machine. It will be co-driven by Elliott Forbes Robinson and Jeff Brabham. Yesterday in qualifying, Jeff Brabham had a tire explode at the top speed on this racetrack right down the front straightaway. He handled it beautifully. Brock talked to him afterwards.
How about Jeff Brabham, who just took that wild practice spin with the Nissan Turbo? Jeff, was it a tire that went away on you?
Yeah, it looks like it. It looks like we blew a tire going down the straightaway, and that ripped all the suspension off it. So it was exciting, but luckily we managed to get a stop without hitting anything, so it'll be fixed and ready to go tomorrow.
Jeff, were you under braking or were you under power?
No, I was flat out in 5th gear. I was about 3/4 of the way down, and it definitely got my attention.
The second row here at Road America today belongs to the BMW squad. They are qualified in the 3rd and 4th position. One of the drivers on this team is David Hobbs. And earlier, Brock asked David about the importance of brakes on a track that has this many long straightaways followed by abrupt left or right turns.
I think our brakes are going to be better than most, but I think brakes are going to play a big part in this race.
Of course, the Porsches are notorious for good brakes, and they always seem to get almost stronger as the race goes on. So that pressure exists, I suppose, for everybody else.
Oh, yeah, it does. And, of course, you use the brakes here very, very hard at Elkhart. But with a big mixed field like this, with the GTO, the GTUs, and the Camel lights, you also use them in a lot of places where you don't normally have to use the brakes, so they get an even more of a tanning than normal.
Well, this is the car that won it all here a year ago in the Löwenbräu Classic, the number 14 car. Last year was Al Holbert and Derek Bell. Well, Derek Bell is involved in Europe in a world endurance race this weekend, so Al Holbert went to the Indy drivers, looked them over, and selected Al Unser Jr. He will co-drive with Al Holbert. And I asked Unser, what could you do with one of these cars that maybe you couldn't do with an Indy car, or vice versa?
Really, you can do anything with either car that either car can do. The IMSA car is just a little bit slower accelerating and braking because it's heavier. It weighs about 500 pounds more than the Indy car does. So that's pretty much all the difference is.
We'll be seeing a pair of the sleek Mustang Probe GTP cars today as well. And qualified in the 8th position is the car to be driven by Pete Halsmer and Indianapolis 500 champion Bobby Rahal. Rahal has plenty of experience in this type of car. And I asked him, what was the difference in technique between the car he won the 500 with and this car he hopes to win with today?
I think here the big difference is just the traffic in a race like this is unbelievable compared to an IndyCar race. So you've got to be I think a little bit more conservative in your approach because you're really never sure if the guy you're lapping is too sure about where you are.
So defensive driving is a big part of this race.
What makes it fun, I think, is you've got to be aggressive, but you also have to temper that. And obviously the fellow who can come up with the best combination of the two and who's got a good car under him can win.
Well, Steve, we've really got an interesting field here today in a series that has been dominated over the years by Porsches, but in the top 10, we've only got 2 Porsches, interestingly enough. We've got the Corvette, we've got the Nissan, a couple of BMWs, and a couple of Mustang Probes, as well as a Jaguar and a Buick Hawk.
I really wonder, Brock, if some of those Porsches, like the 16-car Brock Dyson and Price Cobb, didn't go out to qualify with a race setup, the car engineered and set up to go the distance rather than just a hot qualifying lap.
I think the interesting part of this field will be the differentials in speed that David Hobbs and some of the rest talk talked about. For example, the GTO Mustang of Scott Pruett and Bruce Jenner, the quick car in that class, is 14 seconds a lap slower than the Vandenberg Corvette. The Camel light car, the quick one there, is about 16 seconds a lap slower, Steve. And believe it or not, the GTU qualifier, the Mandeville Mazda, is 27 seconds a lap slower.
We should explain, Brock, the GTO cars are really hot production-based machines, over 3 liters in displacement. You'll find a turbo or two, such as the Toyota cars that Dan Gurney built machines with Chris Gordon Company. The GTU cars also production-based, loosely production-based, and they are under 3 liters.
The GT light cars are kind of the little brothers of the big prototypes. They're under 3 liters, normally aspirated, and carry a variety of engines. One of the interesting cars is on the pole in that class. That's a Ferrari Alba, but they've got a Pontiac-powered Fiero-type car right behind it with Chip Ganassi, the Indy driver, in it. That could be an interesting race.
And occasionally we'll try to check in on the progress in those other classes. But, Brock, we are really here for the GTP cars. This has the potential to be one of the most interesting races of the year. And everybody wondering, can the Corvette, the Nissans, the BMWs, and the Probes finally go a long distance with the Porsches? They've certainly got the horsepower. Just look at the qualifying numbers.
Right, Stephen, we can't emphasize enough the differentials in speed that are going to be a problem for everybody here today. Vandermeer qualified at 121 miles an hour. Roger Mandeville, the quickest of the GTU drivers, at 98 miles an hour.
Well, one thing's for sure, with 68 cars combating in 14 turns, it'll never get dull. Stay with us. We'll be back at Road America in just a minute.
This special presentation of American Sports Cavalcade is being brought to you by BF Goodrich TA Radials, built for you to take on the road. And by Ford and your local Ford dealer, who invite you to see the 1986 Ford Cars and Trucks. Have you driven a Ford lately? And by Löwenbräu, brewed in the great beer-drinking countries of the world. This world calls for Löwenbräu. The end of the road is just the beginning when you take it on with these BF Goodrich TA radials. The radial all-terrain, the mud terrain, the sport truck TA. Last year they took more major off-road races, more than any other tire. When you take on country where it's a long walk home, make sure you put on tires that can take it. BF Goodrich TA radials, built for you to take on the road.
Have you driven a Ford? When was the last time you had the kind of car to bring the road alive? Have you driven a Ford? And you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford? Driven a Ford? Have you driven a Ford?
The world of international road racing. It's a world that calls for a commitment to excellence. For Team Löwenbräu, that commitment paid off. In 1985, the championship-winning car in IMSA racing was the Löwenbräu Special Porsche. In America and around the world, Löwenbräu is brewed with the same commitment to excellence. Call for a Löwenbräu and taste the excellence.
This world calls for good times together, and this world calls for Löwenbräu right now.
We know what kills your muffler. It's rust. Moisture inside your muffler can rust it from the inside out. The revolutionary Walker Advantage muffler with Absorbite fights the deadly effects of internal moisture. Look at these test results. An ordinary muffler, the Walker Advantage with Absorbite. You don't need this. Take the Advantage. It puts rust at a disadvantage.
Warranted at parts and service outlets where you see this sign.
I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans, and we're moments away from the start of the Löwenbräu Classic here at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. As we said earlier, road racing started on the public roads around here, but has long since moved to this beautiful facility. Earlier, Steve and I had a look at the track.
As you know, anytime we cover a road race, we like to give you a driver's eye look at the racetrack with a camera in a car. Well, we just did that a couple of weeks ago here at Road America when we covered the Trans Am. So today, Brock and I thought we would come out on the course and take a close-up look at some of the more critical turns. I'm standing at the entrance to turn number 1. Here you'll see a lot of braking and a lot of passing because it's at the end of the long pit straight. So the cars have come from their maximum mile an hour down to about third gear to negotiate this good, hard 90-degree right-hander. And judging by the skid marks, not only will we see some passing, we'll see some cars off in the weeds as well. So you'll go downhill through turn 2 to turn 3, another 90-degree right, which leads to a short straightaway paralleling the pit straight. At the end of that downhill straightaway is, again, a very interesting turn. Brock?
Steve, that corner is simply called Turn 5. It's a 90-degree left-hander at the end of that straight you discussed, and we'll see a whole bunch of hard braking and a lot of passing as the cars enter that corner. A few of them get off in the weeds, too. From there, it's a short uphill straightaway underneath this bridge where a lot of horsepower comes into play and will lead into yet another left-hand 90-degree corner right behind me called Turn 6. Now, you can see that's a blind one over the crest of a little hill here. That, in turn, leads down to a series of bends toward the biggest and fastest and probably most difficult corner on this circuit.
And, Brock, that section of the course is called the Carousel. It's anything but a child's merry-go-round ride. Here, precise throttle control is required, and a little circle track experience couldn't hurt, because the Carousel is very much like an open-ended half-mile paved oval. Out of the Carousel, they'll shift back up into top gear and launch themselves through the prettiest part of this racetrack, kind of a weaving straightaway flanked on both sides by beautiful green woods. At the end of that straightaway lies another rugged right-hander.
Steve, that back straightaway you discussed is really a series of very fast bends that runs through the woods and leads toward what is called Canada Corner. Here, the faster cars will run maybe 190 miles an hour and then hard brake into this 90-degree right-hand corner and then head toward what's called Thunder Valley, yet another little series of S-bends, and beyond that is not necessarily the most difficult corner, but certainly the most important on the racetrack.
And, Brock, that is the final corner at Road America, turn number 14. Looks like a pretty basic 90-degree right-hander. Well, it is. Why, then, is it so important? Because if you make one little bobble here, lose any momentum, lose any RPM, scrub up any speed, you're in trouble. The competition is just going to streak away, because turn number 14 leads on to the longest straightaway in North American road racing. One more comment on this racetrack. First-time drivers always remark about how smooth it is, considering it hasn't been repaved since it was built almost 30 years ago. Well, one theory has it that this far north, it freezes so hard in the winter that it stays frozen until the spring thaw, maybe preserving the asphalt. Works for Hamburger.
It makes for good snowmobile racing as well. As we watch Cyril van der Merwe and Jeff Brabham lead the field up that hill you just described. Ahead of them, Steve, lies, I would imagine, the green flag.
Indeed it does, Brock. The turbo cars in the front row setting a rather slow pace, but now they're on the throttle. We have got a start of the Löwenbräu Classic, and look at Jeff Brabham in the Nissan. The blue car streaks out ahead. Here is John Morton with the in-car camera. That's the number 68 Porsche. He started 12th. He is already moving up.
Moving on the outside of the number 44 Jaguar and the Rod Dyson Price Cup 962 as they head through turn number 1.
And trying to make a move back in the 5th position, and he does it. Tom Gloy in the Pro will go by on the inside of John Watson of the BMW.
Right ahead of him is that all-winning number 14 962 of Al Holbert and Al Lutzer Jr. But here comes your leader, Jeff Brabham, and right behind him, Van der Merwe in the Corvette.
And the defending champion, Al Holbert, the number 14 Löwenbräu Porsche, he's back in the 4th spot, followed by the Probe and Tom Lloyd and John Watson in the BMW.
So we've got 4 different types of automobiles in the 4 top places, and that is the kind of variety that makes this racing so good. As we watch the race for the 5th spot, that is Lloyd. Right behind him, John Watson, their Formula One driver, and behind him, Indy winner Bobby Rahal. 2 Probes and a BMW, and look at, here comes Watson in the number 19 BMW, getting inside Tom Gloy to retake 5th spot.
And Watson would be happy to know that his teammate, Davy Jones, look at this. Jones has taken over the 2nd spot in the Carousel area. Right now, he is ahead of Cyril van der Merwe and is moving up on the leader, Jeff Brabham, in the Nissan car.
Heading toward the kink, that fast right-hander leading out of the back straightaway. Davy Jones is challenging the Nissan. Brabham and Jones, 2 of the young lions of this kind of racing, as they head into that very fast part of the racetrack, hard on the brakes. This is the Canada corner we discussed. Van der Merwe moving in and staying in that 3rd spot. But Jones, a terrific charge in that 2.1-liter turbocharged BMW, is showing some real aggressiveness at this point in the race, Steve.
And they seem to have a lot of confidence in their cars, Brock. Getting off the course just a little bit right there was Davy Jones, but he's okay. I was going to say, they're pushing these cars at a very hard pace, even though this is a long race.
Right, so we've got a V6 turbocharged Nissan leading a 2.1-liter four-cylinder BMW, and right behind him, the enormously potent Corvette of Bundy and Vandermeer.
So it's young Davy Jones between the South African Cyril Vandermeer in the Corvette and the Australian out in the Nissan. The opening laps of this race, just to remember, you can see Al Holbert now back there in fourth position. You know he's just biding his time, Brock, just relaxing. He won it last year by a considerable distance, hopes to do the same thing today.
Steve, we got to make a point as we watch the leaders come through turn 4 that Corvette we discussed is actually a Lola chassis with a V6 Chevrolet turbo engine in it. So it's not really actually a Corvette except just in name only.
And there we see the two Mustang probes. That's Tom Boy in the 6th spot. Right behind him, teammate Bobby Rahal on the 07 car. And they're about as much like a Mustang as the Lola is a Corvette.
Well, though, who's to know, Steve? One day we may see actual Mustangs look like this, and by maybe the year 2000, maybe we'll see Corvettes look like that Lola as well. As we watch the race for 4th, that is the Löwenbräu, number 14962 of Al Holbert, and right behind him, Formula One star, the former one, John Watson in the BMW.
Well, the BMWs took a little time off with back to the drawing board. We saw them reappear at Sonoma a few weeks ago. And Watson, particularly, ran very strong there until he got up the racetrack. He was challenging for the lead about the middle of the race.
Through that very difficult kink, heading on to the back straightaway. Here comes Brabham in the Nissan. Right behind him, Davy Jones, and then Vandermeer in the Lola Corvette.
So far, Davy Jones has really not attempted any kind of a pass. He really hasn't gotten close enough to the Nissan car to do that. But let's remember, it's a warm day. There's going to be a lot of pit stops, as many as 4 for most of these teams. And virtually every car, in fact, the entire field, will use co-drivers. It's just too long a distance in this kind of heat and on this tougher racetrack to try to do it by yourself. It could be dangerous for that matter.
Elliot Forrest Robinson will get in with Jeff Brabham. John Andretti, Mario's nephew, will co-drive with Davy Jones. As we said earlier, Doc Bundy is the co-driver with Cyril Vandermeer in the Corvette.
Look at this. Just behind Al Holbert is John Watson in the BMW. Watson is going to duck into the inside down in turn number 1. He gets him under braking.
Good move by John Watson to take over that 4th spot. So a pair of BMWs in the top 4 showing some real power. Although at this point, Steve, that Nissan, a bunch of horsepower down that front straightaway. As we watch them head down for turn number 4, and Jeff Brabham seems to have moved out a little bit on Davy Jones.
That's right, Brock. He outpowered him down the straightaway. In the GTO class, there was a heck of a race going on. There's Willie Ribbs in the number 77 Camaro. We saw win at Sonoma, Sears Point. And in the 2nd spot is Dennis Ossie in the Toyota, and you're running with Scott Pruett in the Ford Mustang. He is currently 3rd in that GTO class. What a race they're having.
Boy, Camaro, Toyota, Ford, Mustang, all 3 of them running, as we see, down out of turn number 3, heading toward turn 4. So we're going to have a good view of this action all day long as Scott Pruett chases Willie T. Ribbs and Dennis Ossie in a pair of very potent GTO automobiles.
So we have 2 in-car cameras. This one was Scott Pruett and also John Morton in the number 68 Porsche. He is back right now in the 8th spot.
As Pruett accelerates up the hill, here come your leaders, Brabham, Jones, and Watson, all running together through that very fast kink in the racetrack.
And Davy Jones is off the track. Oh, Brock, just a awful crasher. Davy Jones. Oh, Cyril Vandermeer, who was riding at 4th, came through in the Corvette, had nowhere to go. He tagged the literally destroyed BMW. Now we're with John Morton as he rides through the debris. Let's just hope that Davy Jones is okay, Brock. He impacted that embankment at, what, 150 maybe?
Had to be 150 miles an hour. Here's the Corvette of Vandermeer. It's damaged. He'll have to stop at the pits. He's way slower. Look at this. Emergency crews heading. Jones is out of the race car. He stepped out of that March-built BMW-powered chassis. It stayed together. Here come the GTO cars heading toward the scene of the crash. That's Scott Pruett, the yellow flags waving, debris all over the racetrack, the wrecked automobile. That's got to be a moment of hesitation for all the drivers watching this, but they can see that Jones is standing beside the car. He's all right. A miracle. Let's take another look at this, Steve. Here comes Jeff Brabham in the Nissan. Right behind him, you can see him. There's Davy Jones getting his left wheels off on the dirt. The car takes a sharp right-hand turn and head on into that fence on the inside.
Now watch the airborne gyrations as car goes through. It spins 360 after 360. Davy Jones, right now, awful glad he's in an IMSA-style endurance car because his feet are further back than the European version. And there comes Vandermeer. He absolutely was an innocent bystander, had nowhere to go, and hit with the right front and hit hard.
He did. I'm sure he damaged the right front suspension seriously on that car. Yes, there is the Corvette in the pits. The Rick Hendricks crew taking a very long and very hard look at that front suspension. We are under a full course caution here at Road America. The pace is slowed, and it'll be a while before we get started again.
Now, for the first time on TV, here is the diet plan that actually shrinks millions of fat cells in the first 24 hours.
I'm a TV model, so I bet you think I work hard at keeping my weight down. Well, not if you call this hard work.
Truth is, with the incredible Formula 75 diet plan, she can burn more fat lying in the sun and relaxing for 24 hours than if she swam 4 miles non-stop. Meet some real people.
I lost 96 pounds. I never thought losing weight could be so easy.
I lost 115, and the best thing is I wasn't hungry all the time.
And it's great to be size 10 again.
So effective, it's guaranteed to dissolve even the most stubborn bulges. Wash away years of built-up fat.
16 pounds the first week.
And I just love being able to wear pretty clothes. My husband loves my girlish figure, and I feel like $1 million.
It's fast.
It worked. It changed my life.
Formula 75 diet plan. Use as directed and your results are guaranteed. Results you can see in your own mirror. 30-day supply plus complete diet plan, just $19.95. Order now.
The Formula 75 diet plan can change your life, too. You burn off pounds of unwanted fat or get our 30-day money-back guarantee. Have your credit card ready and call toll-free 1-800-772-7272. That's 1-800-772-7272. Or send $19.95 plus $3 shipping and handling to Formula 75 Diet, Department 7, Canton, Ohio. But for faster service, have your credit card ready and call 1-800-772-7272.
Well, all 4 miles here at Road America are under the yellow flag from a horrible accident suffered by Davy Jones. The good news is Jones walked away from the car uninjured. One of the most spectacular and frightening, for that matter, IMSA crashes that we have ever seen in all of the racing coverage we have done. And these drivers have got to be concerned anytime they pass the scene of this accident about picking up debris, maybe puncturing a tire. That is what's left of about a $300,000-$400,000 race car on the hook. And here is Cyril Vandermeer, who qualified on the pole, was involved in that accident. The Corvette car that he drives is in the pits. Cyril antsy to try to get back into this race, but that may take some doing. They really impacted Davy Jones. Poor Cyril, he had no place to go. Here is Willie T. Ribbs. The GTO leader is apparently out of the race. Some mechanical problems have set in on the number 77 Camaro. Ribbs, who won the last race on the circuit at Sears Point, is out of the race. Brock is with Davy Jones.
Well, I'm with Davy Jones, who was in that particularly hairy crash down there in 11A. Davy, first of all, are you okay?
I'm fine, Brock. I'm just very disappointed because the car, the BMW, was working so well. And John Andretti and myself were driving very well all weekend, and the team has just been doing a brilliant job. And I really felt that we had a good shot here.
Exactly how did it take place?
Well, I was running second, very close behind Jeff Bradman, the Nissan, and going through the kink, I was tucked in very close behind him, and suddenly I had to lift to avoid from tapping him in the rear. And when I was accelerating coming out of the corner very close behind him, I just found myself in the grass on the outside of the circuit. And I found there when I was running very close behind, it's difficult to see. And the more that I think of it now, with the end plates on the Nissan, I think it's very difficult to see the exit of the track when you're in such close racing competition. and it's a shame. But I'm just happy I'm okay, and that John Watson's still up there running strong.
And you can see here that the tub of that automobile maintained its integrity. Most of the debris is very lightweight fiberglass. The rear and forward section of the automobile just exploded on impact. And Cyril Vandenberger, his problems began right there.
More problems here for the Ford Probe team. That's Tom Gloy. Remember, he was as high as fifth spot in that automobile. A quick stop. And apparently, as you said, Steve, that may have been debris underneath that race car. As he heads down, the IMSA officials have stopped him at the head of pit lane. They're going to make him wait until the field comes by. That is another look at that Corvette of Cyril Vandenberg, and it looks to me like they are in for a while. That car, remember, glanced off Davy Jones' BMW at maybe 140 miles an hour and took the brunt of the shot right in the right front. Steve is in that pit.
How hard was the impact between the BMW and the Corvette? Take a look at the right front wheel off of Cyril Vandenberg's car. Just absolutely incredible. This is very high-strength aluminum. These wheels are tested to very rigid specifications, and it just took it and bent it as if it was made out of cotton candy. Unbelievable. And now we understand why it's going to take so long to get that car back into the pits. This impact was transmitted through the entire front suspension, and they've got some real problems.
Well, that will be a while before he is back in the race, as you say, Steve. As we watch the field under caution, remember now, we've got a Nissan, a BMW, the Halsmer-Rahal Ford Probe moving up into third spot, Whitney Gans and the Buick in fourth.
Our camera car, the 68 Porsche of John Morton, in the sixth spot. The Jags are holding down seventh and ninth, and they are the only normally aspirated engines in the top 10. Well, when you talk about power, you got to talk about the Nissan that's leading this race. Earlier, Brock took a look at it.
The Nissan GTP car is really starting to come into its own, and its power plant runs under essentially the same IMSA rules as the all-winning Porsches. It is a 3-liter single-turbo engine. Now, this is a engine basically that runs in the 300ZX sports car on the streets. 2 valves per cylinder and a single Garrett Air Research turbocharger in this engine. Iron block and a setup that is turning out to be very reliable and pumping out enormous amounts of horsepower.
And there is that car as the field comes out of turn number 14, looking for a green flag. The accident, the debris has been cleaned up, and we do indeed have a restart. And there goes Jeff Brabham down the long straightaway, headed for turn number 1. Just behind him is the BMW car with John Watson. And here is the race for third. That is Bobby Rahal in the 07 Pro, followed by Whitney Gans in the Turbo Buick Hawk, the 45 car. And Al Holbert, just coming through your picture there, he is in the 5th position.
Boy, is that variety. 5 different types of cars in the top 5 positions here as Brabham leads Watson off turn number 3 and heading down that hill. That's a little turn number 4 right here. Not much of a corner for these cars, but ahead lies that downhill turn number 5 where we see so much brassing. Here comes the Nissan pulling out a little bit. What a bunch of power that seems to make in these faster straightaways here. Here go your leaders up for turn 6. Brabham and Watson on the brakes, just touching them as they head through turn number 6. That left-hander leading toward Curry Downs in the Carousel. Remember, Steve, this is almost a duplication of the last lap under speed that, of course, Davy Jones was right behind Jeff in the number 18 car. That is now in the wrecking yard.
Look at the tight stuff, Brock. John Watson pulls right up on Jeff Brabham. The Nissan really flexes its muscles down the straightaway. But Jeff Brabham right now doesn't have much of a straightaway to work with.
Out of the Carousel they come. Jeff Brabham leading John Watson. A couple of very experienced drivers. There is the scene of the crash. Watch this now. Brabham leads Watson. Watson laying back a little bit. Perhaps he saw that turbulence and the problem that his teammate had as they head down toward Canada Corner. All over the brakes, sweeping wide, still holding on to that lead. Jeff Brabham apparently able to hold off any kind of a challenge that John Watson can give him on the faster sections. Watson tucks in behind him, makes a move as they head into the last turn, turn 14. And up the hill, let's see where that turbo power comes into play with the Nissan again.
You know, Jeff Brabham got a wheel off there just a little bit, Brock. And as I said when we talked about the course, any tiny little error you make there is going to cost you. But here he appears to have overcome that. He's got enough horsepower to do it.
It's interesting. Both these race cars, the March BMW and the March Nissan, they're both March chassis with different power plants. Have had rather long teething problems. Look at this. Here comes Brabham making a move down toward turn number 3. Can he get inside, Jeff? Yes, he does. We've got a new leader.
Some fine driving for John Watson in the number 19 BMW. It'll be interesting now to see how Jeff Brabham handles this. If he'll be satisfied to maybe hang around in second place for a while.
John Watson from Northern Ireland, one of the nicest guys in the sport, as I said, years of experience in Formula One. Jeff Brabham, of course, the son of three-time world champion Jack Brabham, also a very experienced race driver in these kind of automobiles and an Indianapolis-type competition as well. So we've got two very mature competitors here in the head of this pack.
And there's the race for the 5th position. John Morton in the 68 car. Here we're riding with John. He is in 5th, followed by the Jaguar V12, number 44. There's Chip Robinson. And just behind them is Jim Busby, Morton's teammate in the 67 962 Porsche.
Heading down toward what they call hurry downs. This left-hander up ahead of John Morton, and the rest lie the Carousel, that big sweeper. There it is, as Morton sets up that race car for that sweeping, slightly downhill right-hander. That'll give you an idea how quickly these ground-affected wing supercars will negotiate a corner. We'll be back with more from Road America after this.
Twisting roads, punishing trails, the open road. Each road demands a different tire to take it on. And with BF Goodrich TA radials, you've got all the different tires you need to take on those roads. The most complete line of high-performance radials in the world. The BF Goodrich TA line, built for you to take on the road.
Have you driven a Ford?
Now, get 2.9% financing or cash back on the purchase of most new Ford cars and trucks. Up to $600 cash back on Ford Ranger, $1,000 cash back on Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, and up to $600 on Tempos. 2.9% and cash back on other Ford cars and trucks, too. That's 2.9% financing or cash back. See your Ford dealer today.
The Car's the Star, as host R.C. Bannon and reporter Steve Evans bring you an entertaining and informative look into the automotive world. They'll offer how-to tips and keep you up to date with the latest automotive technology, from the making and testing of high-performance automobiles to a look at the world's most fabulous antique and classic cars. You'll see it all on Performance Plus, Sunday at 5 Eastern, 4 Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific on TNN, the Nashville Network.
Meet the Andersons. They went to Opryland, USA in Nashville for their vacation. Meet the Fussners. The Fussners went to the beach. The Andersons discovered all the excitement of America's great musical vacation adventure, from rides to the new Broadway-style show, Music, Music, Music. The Fussners discovered Conchita. The Andersons saw stars performing live on the Nashville Network and the world-famous Grand Ole Opry. They saw Music City on a Grand Ole Opry tour, enjoyed a musical dinner cruise aboard the mighty General Jackson, and stayed in the magnificent Opryland Hotel. The Fussners stayed at the Sands Motel. Opryland USA has something for every member of the family. Don't let your vacation fizzle in the drizzle.
Löwenbräu Classic, and this Buick Hawk of Whitney Gans and John Crawford appears to be finished for the day. The big fiberglass rear tail section comes up where they're going to have a look at the engine, and Whitney, who drives so hard and works so hard with this race car, appears to be headed for another day of disappointment. That automobile, very quick, showing all kinds of potential, but never quite able to get it done. Here's more disappointment. Bobby Rahal out of the Ford Probe. Steve is down there to find out what happened.
Bobby, the car appeared to be running flawlessly until what happened?
Yeah, the car was handling really nicely. I think we were catching the BMW a little bit, and all of a sudden the boost went out of sight. It felt great, but there's no way the engine would live with 100 inches of boost.
Thank you. Sorry to say, are you out, or are you going to try to get back in?
I figure all we can do now is have fun, so let Pete go out and have some.
Okay, all right.
Well, fun for Bobby and Pete, perhaps. That's Pete Halsmer, but frustration for the Ford SBO team, who have had consistent problems with this 2.1-liter German-built engine. They are now in the midst of making a major change. Earlier, Steve had a look at what's going to happen.
The original concept behind the Mustang Probe GTP car was for Ford to design, build, and develop the machine and then sell it to other racing teams, much as Porsche does. Now, the three-piece carbon fiber modular chassis was an immediate hit with the racers. It is really slick. But they remained a little skeptical about the four-cylinder turbocharged 2.1 engine. Well, there's been rumors for some time that Ford might fit one of the Probes with their Indy-style Ford Cosworth DFX engine. Well, we can confirm that rumor. There it sits right here at Road America. Now, at Indianapolis, that would be a 2.6-liter engine. Here with IMSA rules, it's 2.1 with twin turbochargers. There's no numbers on the car, so they haven't entered it, but they do plan to test here Monday and Tuesday after the race. A number of teams have already expressed interest in buying one of these cars. Now, the price, near as we can figure from Ford, is $350,000. Now, that's without air conditioning, vinyl roof, or a sound system. Now, I did a little figuring. Now, if they offered 5.5 annual percentage rate financing, and you put $100,000 down, your payments would only be about $2,200 a month for 28 years. Now, as far as insurance is concerned, forget it.
Would you buy a used car from that man? Oh, more trouble in the Ford pits. That's the other Probe. That's Klaus Ludwig, one of the drivers, looking very disappointed. Down in the cockpit is Tom Gloy. Steve is with him to find out what happened.
Tom, the crew appears to be working in the area of the fuel injection.
Well, I'm not sure what happened. The car was absolutely superb at the start, and unfortunately, I got a whole big hunk of debris in the crash with the BMW Chevrolet. And she ran. I had to make a stop for that, and she ran pretty good for a while, but now something's happened in the boost system, and I think it's a little bit of extra debris damage from coming up underneath the car.
Well, that team is staked that one of these days they're going to get a ride and win about 20 races in a row. As we watch Scott Pruett still in a battle with Dennis Ossie and that Toyota Turbo Celica right ahead of him. And boy, these guys have been going at it all day long, Steve.
Well, that's one Ford they can certainly be proud of. Scott Pruett, who's won a number of races this year, had some mechanical problems at Sears Point, but boy, none right now. And what a good match that is between the smaller but turbocharged Toyota and the big muscle-bound V8 Ford.
Well, just out of your picture is the other Toyota, the number 99 car driven by Chris Ford. He is leading the class. So this is the race for second in GTO. As we watch Dennis lead Scott through that quick section, you can see that skid marks where Davy Jones got off down that long, twisting back straightaway. A tunnel through these beautiful woods here at Road America. And here is the race for fourth spot. That is John Morton in the 68 car.
And he is being nagged persistently by Chip Robinson in the number 44 Jaguar. He'll be co-driving with Bob Tullius. And here you see Morton. That is the fourth place driver. Robinson right behind him in fifth.
Around the carousel they go. Ahead of them, one of the smaller GT Light cars. You'll get an idea of the speed differentials between these two classes as Morton and Chip Robinson just blast by. Up ahead, a GTO Porsche that'll soon be swallowed up as these two cars sweep down through this tunnel of trees on the back part of Road America. Up ahead, turn number 12 that just eats up brakes here.
Well, Chip Robinson trying to outbrake John Morton in there, but didn't appear to do it. Chip Robinson from New Jersey. I said earlier he'll be co-driving with team captain Bob Tullius. We'll be back to Road America for more of the Löwenbräu Classic right after these messages.
Have you driven a Ford?
Now, get 2.9% financing or cash back on the purchase of most new Ford cars and trucks. Up to $600 cash back on Ford Ranger, $1,000 cash back on Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, and up to $600 on Tempos. 2.9% and cash back on other Ford cars and trucks, too. That's 2.9% financing or cash back. See your Ford dealer today.
It's brewed in America and in other great beer-drinking countries. It's the only beer that must, by license and authority, always use Bavarian hops for flavor and be sent back to Munich to be tested by German brewmasters, tested for taste and quality. It's Löwenbräu, and that's how you get 600 years of Bavarian heritage in one smooth American beer.
This world calls for Löwenbräu right now.
If you have ever dreamed of becoming a race driver and taking a straightaway at over 150 miles per hour, then you need the Power Basics of Auto Racing. World-famous racing driver Davy Jones brings you the finest how-to racing video you'll ever own. Learn the basics of racing from the best professional drivers, cornering, passing, power shifting, and more by calling 1-800-833-7000. Road and Track magazine says the Power Basics of Auto Racing does a superb job on getting you started in racing. This how-to auto racing video cassette is only $39.95. Call toll-free 1-800-833-7000 or save COD charges by mailing $39.95 plus $3 shipping and handling to Auto Racing, care of TV Offer, Post Office Box 10030, Stamford, Connecticut 06904. Order yours now and get this $9.95 auto racing book free. This powerful how-to auto racing package of video and book is yours for only $39.95 if you order now.
You are riding with Scott Pruett in the Mustang GTO car right behind Chris Cord, the current leader in that category. And it looks as if Scott Pruett, one of the young stars in this sport, is about to make a move to try to challenge for the lead.
Well, he already picked off one of the Toyotas, Dennis Ossie, to move into that second position. And you're right, Brock. This is a young man in a hurry. He moves to the inside, and he's going to make it work there.
You saw him downshift to third to take that corner, hard braking underneath Chris Cord to move into the lead. That is where so much passing goes on in this racetrack.
You know, Brock, a little surprising that Cord would stay that high in Canada corner. It's almost like he let Pruett by.
Well, I think he was surprised by Pruett. I don't think that he expected that heavier Mustang to outbrake him.
Here is the race for the fourth spot. Still, it's a 68 Porsche Art camera car with John Morton and 44 Chip Robinson in the Jaguar. Well, no traffic problems right now for John Morton. He hopes he can ease out a few more car lengths over Chip Robinson. In fact, he is doing just that.
Almost looks like a video game here, doesn't it, Steve, as we watch Morton brake hard for Canada corner, but right behind him in that 6.5-liter, almost 400 cubic inch V12 Jaguar driven by Chip Robinson. These two guys going at it as they have for a number of laps.
And these terrific pictures are courtesy of BF Goodrich. Radials built to take on the road. And here is Morton headed up that long front pit straightaway, up the hill, under the bridge, and right now he's in fifth gear and reaching his top speed about now.
Just on 190 miles an hour as they weave their way through slower traffic. Chip Robinson still on Morton's tail as he bends at 962 through the right-hander, turn number 1. Slower cars up ahead, moving by down the slide hill toward turn 3. Yet another 90-degree right-hand corner.
And with his orange gloved hands on that steering wheel, he's one of the steadiest drivers in all of motorsports, John Morton. Brock, you seldom ever see John get into any kind of trouble. A very steady driver and a guy who's always in demand as a test driver because he can evaluate an automobile so well.
Been around the sport for years. Behind him now, one of the young lions, Chip Robinson, the New Jersey youngster who is doing such a good job on the Jaguar team, driving steadily as well. Another guy that stays out of trouble and shows an awful lot of maturity for his age.
Brock, it's been many years since motorsports has enjoyed such a crop of new young drivers. Scott Pruett. In fact, here comes Scott Pruett right now. This is a scheduled pit stop for the Jack Roush Ford Mustang.
Okay, the crewman holds out the signboard, signaling the place to stop as they put on 4 fresh tires and some fuel because he's got to chase down the number 98 Toyota of Dennis Ossie, which has moved past Chris Cord, his teammate, to take the lead in GTO. So, Steve, we've got a pair of Toyotas that are beginning to dominate this class right now.
Well, you know, we saw them run so well at Sears Point, particularly Chris Cord. Here we see the stop continuing for Pruett a little longer, I think, than they wanted. And he showed such muscle at Sears Point until he was spun by Willie T. Rips, and that ruined their chances.
Well, as you can see, that big knockoff up, there's a single lug nut on each one of these wheels, and the impact wrench has to tighten those down off the hydraulic jacks, and Scott Pruett back underway. Out the pit lane, heading up toward turn number 1. And now let's go to Steve with Scott Pruett's teammate, Bruce Jenner.
Bruce, that was a terrific stop for Scott Pruett. The guys really had it together.
Yeah, we did. We decided at the beginning of the race to go 2 stops per person so we could do it a little bit quicker. We got in and out in 41 seconds, which is pretty good for us. We're taking on fuel and tires and everything. Next time we'll have a driver's change. We can change real fast, so hopefully if we can keep it at 41 seconds all day long, we're going to be tough to beat.
Here comes the second-place car, the Nissan, driven by Jeff Brabham, in for what appears to be a scheduled pit stop. Probably, Steve Evans, I would say that Elliott Forbes Robinson, his teammate, will take over.
Yep, you bet. There is EFR right now helping Jeff Brabham get the belt up. I don't know if he's helping him or mugging him, Brock.
Boy, did he haul him up. You talk about desire. Elliott wants to get in that race car, get back in and keep this automobile up among the leaders. As the crew finalizes its pit stop, they're putting on 4 fresh tires on this Nissan.
And the leader, John Watson, brings the BMW car number 19 into the pit area as well. I think he saw Elliott go in, Brock, and said, I might as well pit right with him.
Well, it's about that time in the course of the race for these cars to take on fresh rubber and fuel. There's some problems restarting the Nissan with Elliott Forbes Robinson on board. The crew bump starting that race car. Finally, he fires up and down pit lane. So here is the BMW crew waiting for John Watson to come in and make that stop. I would expect that David Hobbs, his co-driver, will take over at this point. Yes, Hobbs getting ready to relieve John Watson.
Well, David Hobbs a little more gentle than Elliott Forbes Robinson was. He just kind of escorts John Watson out of the car, and now David slides in. What a race car driver David Hobbs is, Brock. He's driven endurance cars, NASCAR, stock cars, virtually everything in the world.
He has indeed, and done very well in all of them, in addition to doing what we do pretty well. As we watch the BMW crew go to work, many of these guys are veterans of Team McLaren on the Formula One and IndyCar wars and are very experienced in pit stops. When we first started to cover IMSA prototype racing a few years back, a lot of these pit stops looked like Keystone Cops comedies, but over the years, the professionalism of these teams and people like Team McLaren have brought the pit stops down to absolutely precision efforts. As we watch the veteran David Hobbs back underway in the John Watson BMW. And now let's go to Steve with Jeff Brabham.
Very, very strong in the early part of the race. The question everyone's asking about the Nissan and also the BMW for that matter, can they keep up that pace?
Well, we're just going to have to wait and see. You know, I feel confident that the car's going to be there at the end and running strong, but there's a long race. Anything can happen, so we have to wait and see.
And you'll be back in before it's over?
Sure, certainly.
All right, Jeff Brabham, the Indianapolis car star, ready to take a little bit of a rest. But this young man, Al Unser Jr., also from the IndyCar wars, ready to take over for team leader Al Holbert, who climbs out of that Porsche 962. How many times have we seen that car up among the leaders, Steve?
Well, more than I can count, Brock. The 44 Jag is in. Chip Robinson already out of the car. It comes down off the air jacks. Behind the wheel now is Bob Tullius, and they are still trying to get Al Unser Jr. properly fastened into the number 14 Porsche.
They'll get it sorted out pretty quickly. All the lead cars have made their pit stops and their driver changes. We'll be back at Road America after this.
Their exotic fiberglass bodies bend under the G-forces as these precision-crafted machines strain to break the 270-mile-an-hour barrier. That's why drag racing insiders call these high-powered funny cars floppers. Now, Diamond P Video presents Fabulous Floppers. 73 minutes of exciting funny car action laced with fascinating facts, trackside interviews, and personal insights. Fabulous Floppers traces the sport from the growing pains of the early days right up to the present. Join host Steve Evans, Don Pruett, and Kenny Bernstein as they follow funny car racing through the turbulent 60s and 70s when drag racing took on the glamour of showbiz. Along the way, we meet the legendary cars and drivers who made funny car history, including Jungle Jim Lieberman, Tom the Mongoose McEwen, and Dandy Dick Landy. Watch the evolution of drag racing's magic machines like the Blue Max and the Chi-Town Hustler. Fabulous Floppers brings us from the steel-bodied muscle cars of 30 years ago to the high-tech computer-equipped cars of today. You'll see the record-breaking runs that brought the funny car crowds to their feet and meet the men behind the machines. You'll also see the flaming metal-melting crashes. And the Iron Men who walked away from the wreckage to race another day. Your VHS or Beta home videotape contains some of the most exciting footage ever recorded. Here's how to order. Fabulous Floppers is especially priced for TNN viewers at only $39.95, plus $3.50 shipping and handling. Call 1-800-833-7000 or send your check or money order to this address. Visa or MasterCard accepted. Please specify VHS or Beta.
Problems here at Road America for our number 68 camera car. John Morton had brought the car in for a scheduled stop. Darren Brassfield took over, went out and had a problem on the course that is going to force the crew to virtually remodel the bodywork on this car. Let's take a look, Brock Yates, at exactly what did happen. There was an encounter with another automobile.
Well, Steve, the scene is the Canada corner at the end of the back straightaway. This is Darren Brassfield on the brakes, but you can see the car is breaking loose, and suddenly he is sideways, headed toward the trees.
He's steering into the spin, trying to maintain control. It's hard to tell from the onboard camera exactly what caused it, but from another angle, one of our 14 cameras around Road America, look at this.
Kaboom! That's the Price Cobb Porsche 962 that he and Rob Dyson drove to victory at Sears Point. Both those cars limped into the pits for repairs.
And Bryce is already back out on the racetrack with a new nose in place. Well, here they are. They've all pitted now. Your leader, David Hobbs, BMW. Al Unser Jr., Porsche. Bob Tullius in a Jaguar. Brian Redmond in yet another Jaguar. The Nissan has fallen back to fifth.
The 11 Barilla Porsche 962 leads the second five. That Finotto Maltrati car in number 10 is a GT light car, the Ferrari Alba, that is so potent.
That's right. That's one of the older 308 Ferrari engines, a 2-valve motor, and 3 guys from Italy. I couldn't get a word of English out of any of them. You'll get a lot of English with an accent from that man. David Hobbs, your leader. And David Hobbs, so very enthusiastic about this revitalized BMW team. Couldn't hurt sales either at David Hobbs BMW outside of Columbus, Ohio. Right now, David is using all of the horsepower in that BMW, trying to keep some distance between himself and the second-place runner, Al Unser Jr., the number 14 Porsche. You know, earlier I took a look at the Cosworth V8, now in the probe car. Brock had a close-up look at the Nissan power plant. In our continuing examination of these various engines, again, earlier Brock had a chance to look at the BMW.
The BMW GTP engine has an interesting background. It's generically related to the 3 Series sports sedans that you see all over the United States, the very popular BMWs. Not only that, its background is in Formula One racing, where in 1.5-liter form, it has produced prodigious amounts of horsepower. This is a 4-cylinder, double overhead cam, 4 valves per cylinder engine with a single turbocharger. In IMSA form, it's at 2 liters, 122 cubic inches, and runs slightly lower boost pressures than in Formula One for more longevity and reliability in the longer races. But it is an extremely powerful engine, producing over 700 horsepower in IMSA form.
Well, right now, David Hobbs wishes it had about 1,000 horsepower to try to stay ahead of the Porsche, the number 14 car that's back in second place. So far, he's doing a good job of that. And and here comes Unser. Look at him flying, trying to gun down Hobbs. And, you know, we don't mean to slight the power plant in that Porsche, but we've shown it to you many times before. And the basic technology in that engine, the basic design, has been around for just about 20 years. So you talk about proven reliability. Al Unser Jr. right now, well, he's wishing he had the boost knob they were allowed last year, so he could maybe turn the wick up just a little bit, because David Hobbs is out there really flying in first position. Al Unser Jr. back there in that second spot. First time we saw the 2 Al's driving together was in Watkins Glen last year. Then later at the Daytona finale, Little Al got out of the car after a Stanton, and he told Big Al, he said, I'm really confused. This traffic just drives me nuts. I don't know exactly where to pass. But with Holbert's encouragement, he has really matured into a fine endurance-style driver. Brock Yates right now is in the pit area with Al Holbert.
The racetrack, pretty good shape. We heard there was a lot of debris after the Jones crash. Is it still out there?
Yeah, I really wish they had swept it a little bit better. You know, I guess the corner work was expected. There was an awful lot of dirt and trash there that you couldn't see what was in it. And I'd feel a lot better if it had been swept, but I guess they looked at it and felt satisfied.
Well, we hope it works for everybody. Thanks now.
Okay, Al Holbert will be on the sidelines briefly. Al Unser Jr. out doing a fine job. Now, the third car you see coming through there, the green and white 44, that's Bob Tullius. He's in third, but starting to get some pressure from Elliott Forbes Robinson and the Nissan, as Robinson recovering from what was not an ideal pit stop. They're lapping the GT light leader. That's number 80, Martino Finotto from Italy, and number 75, Com Kendall, a GTU car. He's running 18th overall.
as we watch that little cluster of various classes head down toward turn number 5. You can see that Tullius is broken free of the pack, but Elliott's still in there, so he'll have to wait. There comes a probe of Pete Hausmer. Now remember, he is way down lap-wise. They're just back out there, he and Rahal, as Rahal said, having a little fun. But I'll tell you what, he is having enough fun so that he blew past Elliott Forbes Robinson, and Pete Hausmer is weaving his way through that traffic as if he was in the lead.
That's right. They're doing more testing than they are racing, and I'll tell you, Elliott must have been a little bit surprised when that car just came flat by him.
Oh, he did. Just blew past him, and Pete Hausmer heads down toward the Carousel. That car showing terrific potential, but just seems to be plagued, just snake-bitten with little problems. Elliott Forbes Robinson having taken over for Jeff Brabham, pushing back. Remember, he was down as far as 5th place, now worked his way up to 4th, and hoping maybe to regain the lead that Brabham had in the opening laps. As we watch Pete Hausmer, boy, Steve, I wonder if that boost knob is still stuck at 100 pounds.
Boy, can you imagine driving one of these cars with 100 pounds of boost? It wouldn't last very long. It'd be a little bit like a top fuel dragster coming down this car. Whoa! Pete Hausmer, he isn't having fun now. The probe does a 360 but avoids any contact.
Yep, that's Canada corner one more time. Of course, now a lot of rubber and oil being laid down at the entry of that turn, and it cost Pete Hausmer not a whole lot, though. He didn't hurt the car, and he's not really in contention. This car is in contention. Still in 4th place. Elliott moving, though, trying to get back up among the leaders. We know that car is among the very quickest, and now he has a clear racetrack ahead, so he'll be able to make up some time.
What he'd like to see in front of him is the car running in 3rd, Bob Tullius, in the number 44 Jaguar. They haven't been flashy today, but very steady, running as high as 3rd and 4th, nose to tail.
Well, they get better fuel mileage. They're very reliable. They're about 100 horsepower down on the turbo cars, but a good team. These 2 Jaguars always in contention, working hard, very steady team, and don't make any mistakes. They wait for somebody else to make mistakes. But right now, Bob has got his hands full as Elliott with that superior horsepower in that Nissan-powered automobile, trying to move into challenge as they head down toward turn number 5. Will Elliott outbrake the Jaguar? Not likely. Will he get past them in the big horsepower hill here? Nope. Tullius holds on as they head into turn 6.
Just a matter of time, though, Brock, as you pointed out, with that turbo advantage as far as horsepower is concerned. Elliott right now just not wanting to get in any trouble. He'll wait till the air. See, he gets enough of his straightaway here to execute.
Right, as they head down toward the Carousel. That's at the end of the hurry downs. We get 5, and we'll sweep through the Carousel and out onto the back straightaway, and I'm sure at that point we'll see Elliott take a firm grip on 3rd and perhaps challenge Al Unser Jr. for 2nd. We'll be back for more of the Löwenbräu Classic at Road America.
Hi, I'm Greg Crutcher.
And I'm Janet Tyson. Join us each week on Country Notes as we take a close-up look at the world of country music.
And discover the fascinating people behind the scenes.
We'll bring you features on the places, events, and personalities that make up the country music scene.
From concert dates to album reviews, we'll keep you in the know.
So join us for Country Notes.
Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, and 11 a.m. Pacific on TNN, the Nashville Network.
This is the famous Sweetheart watch that's sweeping across America. This watch is layered entirely in genuine 14-karat gold, and it's color-coordinated with fashionable pastel pink. How much would you pay for this adorable Sweetheart watch? Well, don't answer yet, because you also get this gold layered in black, color-coordinated Sweetheart watch, and this burgundy watch. Now, how much would you pay for this 3-piece true gold color-coordinated Sweetheart watch set? You might normally expect to pay $10 for each watch in this set. But now, as part of a special TV public awareness program, you can get the whole set for only $10. And if you call us within 1 hour, you'll also get a matching floating heart pendant. It's made entirely of solid 14-karat gold, yet it's yours absolutely free if you call us now.
Just call toll-free 1-800-833-7000. That's 1-800-833-7000. Remember, you save COD charges if you use your Visa or MasterCard.
Bad news for the Nissan team. Elliott Forbes Robinson, who had led this race and was charging from the third spot to try to lead it again, has parked the car on the racetrack, smoke emanating from somewhere. Elliott's out of the car. They are done for the day. No question about that.
That's a tough break. Started second, led the early stages of the race, and now out. As we watch Bob Tullius continue to carry on, right behind him, the 04 Jaguar, now being driven by veteran Brian Redman. So the Jaguar's beginning to show some real muscle here.
Now that 04 car is a big surprise to even Brian Redman. He had a gasoline fire in warm-ups earlier today with his original car. This is a backup machine out of their trailer that was not geared properly, had not been prepared for Road America, and look how well it's running. Almost as well as the 44 car.
Right, Steve. I talked to Brian on the grid, and he was really discouraged. He said, boy, this car just isn't ready to race. But boy, I'll tell you what, they are doing a super job. He and teammate Hurley Haywood as they ride right in behind Bob Tullius and challenge Tullius, in fact, for third place. I wonder if he'll try to pass the ball.
Yep, sure looks like it.
Yeah, those guys go at it. They're absolutely independent here, apparently, giving each other a pretty wide margin, though, as Tullius tries to thread his way through some of the slower traffic, and Brian drops in behind him.
Well, I tell you, this is no beauty contest, Brock, but if it was, those would be the winners. They are just classy-looking cats.
People always gathered around that trailer where those cars are prepared because they just are, as you say, two of the most electrifying-looking automobiles in the entire world, and boy, do they run well.
And here we see them catching up to Scott Pruett. Now, Pruett is second place in the GTO class, but as you mentioned before earlier, Brock, a tremendous difference between the performance of these cars. Are totally different animals. And now let's see if both Tullius and Brian Redman, where they will go around Scott Pruett. You know they're coming. He knows they're coming. It's just where they pick it.
Well, they're not going to get through in the carousel because Scott has held his line, but down that short chute toward the kink, both cars probably through. There goes Tullius, there goes Redman as they go through the spot on the racetrack where Davy Jones got off earlier. Watch these cars disappear. There you see the differentials in speed, Steve.
Hard to believe when you consider that we are riding in probably the fastest GTO automobile ever built, over 700 horsepower.
Well, basically, you're comparing apples and oranges. The Mustang is front engine, very much a stock body automobile. The Jaguar, specially built mid-engine race cars with ground effects, and more than that, a specially prepared racing engine. Earlier, Steve had a chance to look at the heart and soul of these Jaguars.
Artistry in aluminum. The legendary silky smooth Jaguar V12 engine. It first debuted back in 1973 in the beautiful XKE and is available today in the XJS automobile. Now, this is production stuff, the block and the cylinder heads. Now, in the XJS, you'll find on the showroom floor, it's 327 cubic inches. In that it runs without turbochargers. In IMSA, they're allowed to punch it out and bore it out to almost 400 cubic inches. Now, it is single overhead cam, 2-valve per cylinders. The one advantage it may enjoy here at Road America, it gets better fuel economy than the turbo cars.
And it, as we've seen, is substantially more reliable than a bunch of them, Steve, as these two automobiles carry on in third and fourth place. Bob Tullius, team owner and team leader, in third. The number one driver, probably in terms of credentials on the team, Brian Redman, back there in fourth.
And anytime this team pulls up a second place, which they do quite often, Julius always refers to it as first in class. He considers the turbo cars in another class. IMSA doesn't.
Oh, they've tried to give him as much advantage as they can. As we watch the leader, David Hobbs, come into the number 19 BMW, he will give way to John Watson.
And there's our new leader, Brock, Al Unser Jr. in the Porsche number 14 that he co-drives with Al Holbert for the first time today, has taken the lead. That is the defending champion car. This young man was not in it a year ago. It was Derek Bell, who's otherwise involved this weekend in Europe. Now here is the stop continuing. The man on the right is fueling the car on the left. That big jug is over the fuel vent, so none of it splashes out. At the rear of the automobile, crewman waiting for the signal to let it down off of the air jack. And there goes John Watson in hot pursuit of the new leader, Al Unser Jr. But sooner or later, Unser also will have to come in for a stop. Scott Pruett has brought the number 11 Mustang in, the second place car in GTO. Bruce Jenner is buckling up. You may have noticed that the left door is gone. The driver's side door is just completely gone. So Scott Pruett and Bruce Jenner simplified their driver change. No door whatsoever on the left side of that car. Right now, let's go over to the BMW pits. Brock is with David Hobbs.
Was it pretty routine, David? It appeared to be from here, anyway.
Well, it went very well.
The traffic stinks, not to put too fine a word on it. Some of the driving out there, I mean, they really ought to be out there with us. I mean, it's just absolutely appalling. But apart from that, everything went just fine.
Oh, how many times have commuters made those same comments? Here's the 11 car, Bruce Jenner, waiting for the crew to finish up their work so he can head back out and try to catch the leading Toyota in that GTO class. He won't have any problem with ventilation. There's, as we said before, no door on the car.
Well, Bruce Jenner's got his work cut out for him because the two Toyotas of the Dan Gurney team are both running very strong. Now let's go to Steve with Scott Pruett.
That was a very handsome race car you had running around out there without a door on it.
It was funny. I was coming by here and a GTP car came by and just
blew your door off.
Blew my door off. No, it created a really funny turbulence inside the car, and I think just kicked the door out enough. When the wind caught it, just ripped it off.
Well, the important thing is the window netting was still there.
It didn't really seem to affect the way the car's handling. So when we were out there running, the crew went out and took a look at it, but everything seems to be good right now.
Well, there you see Bruce Jenner down the back straightaway, and he's flying, trying to catch those two Toyotas up front here in the Löwenbräu Classic at Road America.
Have you driven a Ford?
Now, get 2.9% financing or cash back on the purchase of most new Ford cars and trucks. Up to $600 cash back on Ford Ranger, $1,000 cash back on Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, and up to $600 on Tempos. 2.9% and cash back on other Ford cars and trucks, too. That's 2.9% financing or cash back. See your Ford dealer today.
This world calls for good times.
From London
This world calls for sharing them now.
to Stockholm to Tokyo.
Brewed in England,
Sweden,
Canada,
Japan,
and here in America.
Only Löwenbräu is brewed under license and authority of Löwenbräu Munich for rich Bavarian heritage in one smooth American beer.
This world calls for good friends together. And this world calls for Löwenbräu right now.
Auto Week makes racing come alive every week. Feel the excitement. Formula One, sports cars, stockers, Indy cars. Auto Week brings it home fast, days after the race, with columnists who race and win. Auto Week makes street cars come alive with road tests that put you inside the hottest cars. In-depth features, cars of the past, industry news, personality profiles, the best classified anywhere. Get the excitement of Auto Week every week. Call 1-800-331-1000 for a year's subscription. 52 issues for the basic rate of $23, just 44 cents a week. Call now and get this racing decal shirt free. That's 1-800-331-1000. Operators are standing by. Auto Week. It makes cars come alive.
First, the bad news was for Nissan. Now it's for BMW. Number 19, John Watson, has pulled off the racetrack down in the Turn 5 area. He is out of this race. So Porsche is now in command with Al Unser Jr.
What a shame, Steve. First we saw Davy Jones destroy the first of the BMWs while contending, and then John Watson. But here is the race for GTO overall, and look at this. Dennis Ossie, the current leader, out front in one of the Dan Gurney Toyota Celicas, but right behind him, Bruce Jenner has moved into challenge in the Mustang from the Jack Roush stable.
And you know, Brock, since Bruce Jenner took over this car from Scott Pruett, he has been matching Pruett's lap times. And that's really pretty incredible when you consider that Jenner is not a full-time race car driver. You'd never know it watching him chase Dennis Ossie here. A good job. He may get him.
Well, here they go up over the hill. You can see Dennis hit the brakes as they head into the turn number 6 at the crest. And Jenner right behind him. Notice his hand come off the steering wheel to change gears. He is in 4th gear right now, heading down this hill. What they call hurry downs at Road America, trying to move inside. Can he? No. Dennis shuts the door, but look at this.
Jenner is spinning. He got in just a little too hot. He has spun that automobile. And that was much like Davy Jones told us before. Rocky got in, just going too fast, had to hit the brakes to keep from hitting the guy in front of him.
That's right. So he's having a little trouble getting back on the racetrack, too. Did a little off-course motoring, but now back underway through the carousel. That is very upsetting, I'm sure, to Bruce, because he had the lead in right in his sight. So as Bruce Jenner accelerates back up to speed out of the Carousel, Dennis Ossie is out of sight. Let's go to Steve with a BMW crew.
Okay, you can see the BMW crew, Brock. They are racing down into that turn 5 area with his back to us in the driving suit. That's David Hobbs himself. He's got some kind of an electrical component just in case that's what it is. Another member of the crew has got some fuel parts in case that's the problem. And now they've come upon the car here, pulled off the racetrack, and David himself leads the charge.
Well, Steve, he's on hand because the rules say only the drivers can work on the race car out on the track. So the crew's down there to kind of guide David along if, in fact, they can do any repairs. Here's more trouble in the pits. That's car number 67 from the Jim Bosby crew. They're in, and the hood is off that one.
That's right, and at the wheel, Wally Dallenbach Jr., who we've seen do so very well in the Trans Am Series, the defending Trans Am champion. This is the first time he's ever competed in a GTP car. He practiced in the Corvette at Daytona sometime back when the car never started the race. So officially, this would be his first start as a GTP driver.
And what a fine job he's done. That is Al Unser Jr. helping the boss, Al Holbert, get buckled into the leading Porsche 962 that we are seeing now beginning, apparently, Steve, to take command of this race.
That's right. He has a tremendous lead in the points to defend his championship from last year. He's the winningest driver right now in IMSA history and maybe on his way to another notch in the gun.
Well, these guys from this Andile team and the Holbert team are so poised and so cool that they were actually among the very last of the leaders to stop for their final pit stop, which means they're getting excellent fuel mileage as well as performance.
Well, they were the last of the leaders to pit. Oh, and a fellow who didn't get much track time in this stint is Chip Robinson. The Jaguar is off down in the Carousel area. Number 44 is now out of this race. They're dropping like flies.
Well, Chip just got into the car, as did John Watson, and almost instantaneously they were out. So this is the only Jaguar, but it has now moved up into second place. Hurley Haywood has taken over for Brian Redmond in the final stop for that race car and appears to be in position perhaps to challenge Al Holbert for the lead. So Hurley Haywood carries on in the last of the Jaguars. Now, these cars, like all truly modern racing machines, are extremely complicated, especially in this department of the suspension. Earlier, Steve had a chance to look at the Jaguar rear end.
This is a complete transaxle unit out of one of the Group 44 Jaguars, but it's very typical of what you'll find in almost any GTP cars. Occasionally, you'll hear Brock and I talk about a broken half shaft or CV joint. Well, here you can see a half shaft is really nothing more than an exposed axle that is independently suspended. Now, instead of using U-joints with trunnions as you would in a passenger car, these are CV joints, CV for constant velocity. Now, the crew kindly took one apart so that you can see here that these ball bearings right in the slots here to provide the independently suspended action. Of course, you've got the giant brakes outboard. Now, this is really the differential where the final drive ratio is located. Now, bolted to the differential at the very aft of the automobile is a Hewland 5-speed transmission. It is cooled by this small radiator here, just like the engine and other components of the car are. Now, this large cylindrical object right here, that's the air jack. The crew plugs in an air hose here, a piston springs out here, and instantly pops the back of the Jaguar up for tire changes.
All right, out on the back straightaway, the car with the lights on, the Porsche 962 of Al Holbert to warn the slower cars that he's coming through. Holbert leads it, Haywood, Redmond in second, Levin and Barilla and another Porsche in third. Bryce Cobbin, Rob Dyson in fourth, and yet another Porsche. Dennis Ossie, though, in that GTO Toyota in fifth, Steve.
And their partners in the number 99 car right behind him in sixth. The Loring Honegger number 70 machine, that is the leading GT light car, followed by the Italian team.
So that automobile right there, the car that has dominated IMSA competition this year, clear track. Al Holbert up, the headlights on, going past the start-finish line for what appears to be yet another victory. Road America is all Al Holbert's today. Now, let's go to the man who is his teammate with Steve Evans.
Al, what kind of a track is Al Holbert faced with now?
Pretty slick one. It's gone away just a little bit, but not bad, you know. The Porsche Löwenbräu car is just doing great, you know. It's running great, and all the temps are cool. I get in there in the pits, and they tell me that the brakes are going to make it, so that's a good sign. We don't have to change brakes.
Porsche's famous for good brakes.
Yeah, everything's good. So I just hope it just keeps running. That's all I hope for.
Well, here's one less problem for Al. The 04 Jaguar of Hurley Haywood and Brian Redmond is crippled and heading for the pits. It appears that the pressure is off the Holbert Unser Porsche.
When you take on the track, you're taking your tires to the limit. BF Goodrich started it all, testing street radials in races like this and like this. The more we race, the more we prove what a tire can do. On cars like this and like this. BF Goodrich TA radials, built for you to take on the road.
The world of international road racing. It's a world that calls for a commitment to excellence. For Team Löwenbräu, that commitment paid off. In 1985, the championship-winning car in IMSA racing was the Löwenbräu Special Porsche. In America and around the world, Löwenbräu is brewed with the same commitment to excellence. Call for a Löwenbräu and taste the excellence.
This world calls for good times together, and this world calls for Löwenbräu right now.
It's Tommy Hunter with another of his famous readings from the Tommy Hunter Show.
Dear daughter, I tiptoed into your room tonight, and I looked down at you smiling in your sleep. And I thought how very much like Sleeping Beauty, a little girl is.
Here are the most requested inspirational thoughts on Readings, the great new record album by the ever-popular Tommy Hunter. To order, call the number on your screen.
For the time and the tears and the cost throughout the years, there's no charge. When you add it all up, the full cost of my love is no charge.
Here at last are Tommy Hunter's finest readings on record or tape in this great new collection.
That Doc Brown has moved upstairs. Beyond the sunset.
To order, call the number on your screen or write to this address.
Oh, hello there. Oh, I'm glad you stopped by. Oh, yeah, we're right here each and every Saturday for a full hour of your favorite country videos. We feature top recording artists and newcomers taking you through today's hottest country hits. Join me, Shotgun Red, as we capture your favorite superstars on Country Clips. Thanks.
That's Country Clips, Saturdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central, and 10 a.m. Pacific on TNN, the Nashville Network.
While we were away, Hurley Haywood managed to limp the second-place Jaguar back into the pits. His teammate Brian Redmond initially tried to restart the car, but it wasn't to be. The car is finished for the day, and Brian is out. Steve is with Hurley Haywood, the man who got it into second.
Well, Hurley, I know how pleased Brian was, and probably yourself, with the performance of a backup car that not much was expected from, but suddenly it sputtered.
Yeah, it's a shame. They really, I like this Gull car a lot. I've had good success with it. And we, you know, we threw it together after our first car burnt, and it was really terrific out there. It was handling good. It had good power. We ran the little 6-liter motor, and then suddenly the axle just broke in the kink over there, and that's the way racing goes.
And the attrition continues. That is one of the Porsches, the fourth-place car, Bruce Levin, the owner-driver from Redmond, Washington, outside Seattle. And Bruce parks it over there on the backside of the racetrack. Also, David Loring and Pierre Heininger have dropped out in their leading GT light car, Steve.
Well, Brock, we were on the last lap, and only 2 GTP cars are to be found in the top 5. In third place is a GT light car. In fourth is a GTO car. And in fifth, a GTO car.
As the last lap begins to unfold here, Al Holbert in complete command of this race. As we said, the headlights on to warn everybody that he's coming through. But believe me, with the attrition levels here today, there aren't a whole lot of race cars left on this giant 4-mile track here at Road America. Now, if Al can complete the final 3/4 of this lap, it will mark his 6th win of the season and his 46th career win. Now, earlier this year, Steve, he overtook the late, great Peter Gregg to become the all-time winningest driver in IMSA history.
That's right. He did that at Daytona. Actually tied the mark at the Daytona 24-hour, broke it at Lime Rock, and has gone on to win at Mid-Ohio, Watkins Glen, Portland, Oregon, and it looks like here today at Road America. Today with Al Unser Jr., many of those other wins this year with Derek Bell.
And if he wins today, it will practically sew up his IMSA championship for the second year in a row. That'll make his dad, Bob Holbert, who was also a great race driver, extremely proud, Steve.
You're right about what you said, Brock. Mathematically, it's not over, but from a practical standpoint, you just about have to stay home the remaining races to lose the title.
Well, Steve, we could also be possibly seeing one of the last races of Al Holbert's career. He has openly stated that he would like to retire, perhaps, or lessen his driving duties and carry on as the kind of team leader for Porsche racing operations in the United States, and certainly lead Porsche to Indianapolis, which is a major project on Porsche's front burner right now. So Holbert, a great racing driver, but also a great team manager as well.
And a driver with only one more turn to negotiate. It is Al Holbert on to the long front straightaway. When he crests that hill, he should be able to see the checkered flag. Yes, indeed. And there's the crew of the Löwenbräu Porsche. What a great job they did. Al Holbert wins it for the second year in a row. All right, says Al Unser Jr. He shares in this triumph.
And you can be sure if Al Holbert has anything to say about it, that young man from Albuquerque will figure in Porsche plans for years to come. We'll be back to talk to the winner after this.
To take on the street, you like looking good. But when you take on the road, you're talking performance. That's the BF Goodrich Radio TA. Check it out. Put it on. Move on out. With more performance than ever. Black wall or raised white letters. The speed-rated Radio TA from BF Goodrich. Built for you.
A typical day with the station wagon, except one thing's changed. The station wagon. The new Ford Taurus wagon, with the design and performance that make everyday driving more than an everyday experience.
Taurus, now there's an American car that has exactly what we've been looking for. Taurus, Taurus. Have you driven a Ford lately?
It's brewed in America and in other great beer-drinking countries. It's the only beer that must, by license and authority, always use Bavarian hops for flavor. And be sent back to Munich to be tested by German brewmasters, tested for taste and quality. It's Löwenbräu. And that's how you get 600 years of Bavarian heritage in one smooth American beer.
This world calls for Löwenbräu right now.
Help! Bill, the septic system is backing up. What a mess and what a smell.
I'll call the septic man to pump it out.
I wish there was something we could do to avoid the mess and expense.
Me too.
There is an alternative to waiting around for your septic system to back up. Ridex. Ridex in your toilet bowl just once a month adds billions of bacteria to digest waste and help keep your septic system running trouble-free. Ridex. The alternative to waiting around for your septic system to back up.
Driver Dick Trickle is known as the king of the short tracks, and his Coors Silver Bullet racing team is an elite group of dedicated professionals that he chooses carefully.
I want them to work for me. If they're doing it for money, they're here for the wrong reason.
Go behind the scenes with the Coors team at the Queen City Speedway in Cincinnati, Ohio. This week on Hidden Heroes. Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Pacific on TNN, the Nashville Network.
Out of the car he comes. Al Holbert in the Löwenbräu Porsche wins the Löwenbräu Classic. And Al, that ought to just wrap up the championship for you. Not mathematically, but for all practical purposes.
Well, right, not mathematically. Until that's done, it's not done. But, you know, I just praise the Lord that Davy didn't get hurt today, and we had a safe race. And, of course, we won with our Löwenbräu Porsche and my guys, of course. And it's swell to be able to bring in a new guy.
Oh, I'll say. Al Unser Jr., a fantastic job. It was so calm in your pits all day. Was it that calm on the racetrack the last stint that you took? Was there anything going on in there we don't know about?
Well, we were nursing the brakes real carefully, and it may have appeared calm, and not that we were resigned to anything, but we had made a decision before the race started that we were locked into that made us run about 2 or 3 seconds slower than the BMW, but he was 4 or 5 seconds quicker, and that's, I think the handwriting's on the wall. It could have been a wonderful ending.
Now let's go to Brock with the second place finisher.
Well, Price Cobb out of the automobile, and owner Rob Dyson right behind him. Price, you guys kind of overcame all kinds of difficulties today and pressed on regardless, as it were.
Yeah, we certainly did, Brock. We had, I'd like to say that I probably made a mistake in the early run and getting a little too close to a guy. Didn't anticipate what could happen, and he spun, and I did everything I could to miss him. But nonetheless, the guys did a heck of a job. We brought it in, and it wasn't just a nose, it was a nose frame, and it took a long time. And we went back out and went as fast as we could, and it gave us seconds. So.
Sure did. Rob, you obviously had a cool suit that worked this week.
Yeah, this weekend was a nice cool one. I can tell you, it was like a vacation this weekend compared to what we had a couple weeks ago. It went real well, and Price did a great job. And the crew, these guys are just phenomenal. They just are able to get through any adversity. These guys are able to come back every time. It's just phenomenal.
I see another Dyson up on top there. Which one is this one?
Chris.
Chris, what'd you think about Dad? Did he do a good job this weekend?
Fine, great job.
All right. Well, Price, congratulations, and both you and Rob, been excellent work. We watched you come through the field, and there was a lot of attrition, of course, but I understood that you guys were going to just sit back there and set your pace and hope for everybody to break up a little bit up front.
Well, that's, we just try to run hard and keep our own pace, and that's the way we do it in every race, and fortunately, it worked out again, fortunately. Price did a hell of a job.
Congratulations, Rob.
Thanks a lot.
Price.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Go on. Thank you.
And now, let's go to Steve with the winner of the GTO category here at Road America.
Okay, thank you, Brock. Two guys who did a tremendous job. You finished something like 3rd or 4th overall against the GTPs in the light car. And, Rocky, you look more tired of the two. You must have just got out.
Well, that's right. Dennis did all the work for me, put me in the lead, and these guys has done a hell of a job with the Toyota, preparing it. Dennis and Chris, the whole team. Just made one fantastic race car, and it's a pleasure to be a part of their outfit.
I thought for a while you were going to be able to call Dan Gurney tonight and tell him you ran 1-2.
It sure looked like it. It would have been a real good deal to break into it like that, because we've had a little dry spell, and we need this more than anybody. But we're really happy, and thank our sponsors. We have Goodyear, and we have Valvoline, and of course, Toyota.
Okay, I just get the word you were 3rd overall. That's incredible.
That's right. We made some money.
Oh, right. Okay. Have fun spending it. Thank you, guys.
Sadly, their teammates Chris Cord and Juan Manuel Fangio, the nephew of the great driver from Argentina, dropped out in the later stages and finished 24th. Our congratulations to all the winners and a wild day here at Road America. I'm Brock Yates for Steve Evans. Thanks for joining us.